Hi, my fellow trumpet players. I'm doing another episode from Matt Franke's books, and this is actually, I think this is from the third book, which is Provoking the Beast, and this exercise we're going to look at today might provoke you a little bit, which is not a bad thing. This is called Scott Belk's Worm Burner exercise, altered. Now, I don't know Mr. Belk, but I thank him for writing these exercises, and I thank Mr. Franke for putting them in his book, because I find this exercise to be, I feel like it has a tremendously intuitive understanding of what it takes to play the trumpet well, in a very simple way. So let's take a look at these, and we'll see what we can do. They're simple exercises, and what I really like about them, one of the main things I really like about them, is the fingerings are easy. So when the fingerings are easy, then it's pretty easy for me to do the exercise. I don't have to be worrying about being dexterous. I just am changing simple fingerings over and over again. So the way these are designed is just to work on the overtone series. And most of you know that the lowest note on the trumpet, the F sharp or G flat, is 1, 2, and 3, and that just means that all the slides are open, so it's the longest that the instrument can be. On a trombone, that would be 7th position, and then what he does is work through the positions. So what we're doing is we're switching back and forth between one fingering and another fingering. The first line starts out 2 and 3, and then 1, 2, and 3. And that way it's a simple pattern as far as the fingerings go, and it allows you to concentrate on other things. So let me just go ahead and play a couple of these. At this point, I'm not going to worry about playing everything perfectly in tune. That can come later. It's definitely a worthwhile thing to do, for sure, especially to hear it. And you could use your drone, you can use your tuner for that as a reference, but mainly it's a matter of just listening to these very simple intervals. Let me do a couple more. This is 1 and 2 to 1 and 3. So you just go dee-da, 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 dee-da. So it's a very simple fingering. So that's the pattern on the first one. Now there's several variations, and what happens in this exercise is he has you gradually building up to where you're playing more and more in the upper register. Now of course that happens with this pattern if you just go 2 and 3, 1 and 2, 1, second valve, open. You go through 5 positions, which covers all 7 positions by the time you include the secondary fingering. And it's a very easy pattern to remember, so you don't have to be looking at music. I'm looking at these because I probably should be a little bit more familiar with them before I present them to you, but here we go. So the final one in this first group, in the A group, starts on a G in the staff. Now you notice I went quite a bit faster. He says, like a Tesla S. Fairly fast, but smooth with minimal noise. That's a good way of describing it. You're looking at the least amount of turbulence, so to speak, the least bumpiness, as smooth as you can possibly be. And that has to do not only with the sound, but with the way it feels. So there are a lot of things that I think are very, very helpful with this. I find this extremely therapeutic. Let me go to exercise number B, and I'll just start on the third group, I guess. So it's first valve going to 2 and 3. Now it extends a little bit more, as you'll hear. like about these exercises is you can see that covers a fair amount of range. So as you're gradually building up into the upper register, you're also working on smooth, continuous, balanced airflow that matches the shape of the line that you're playing through the pitches. And you always have to go back down into the low register. And so I learned a lot of things by doing this. I learned I may be holding tension in my jaw or my neck. I may be using a little bit too much pressure. So as you play these, you want to notice, can you stay balanced? Can you stay in the zone where it all feels as much as possible like you're playing a single note? Or are you having to manipulate in various ways in order to adjust for every single note? The feeling when it's right is one of continuous fluid motion that's very, very smooth. Let me do one from group C. So they keep on getting larger and larger. Let's see. Yeah, I started on 1 last time. I'll start on 1 and 2. So it's 1 and 2 and 1 and 3. Now, here's where I'm starting to notice I got a little bit of a problem. At the top of the staff, I'm starting to squeeze a little bit. The sound becomes somewhat more strident, a little bit, rougher. And you may not hear that much difference, but I feel it, and I also hear it. So this is the main thing to listen for. If you can notice when you're starting to strain, of course, it won't feel like there's any strain. You'll feel like, I got this, I'm strong. But if you listen for the quality and you notice it should be it should be easy to do these things. It shouldn't feel like you're striving. As soon as you feel like you're striving a little bit, just slow down and see if you can get back in that smooth flow again. Let me do another one here. So, yeah, this is, let me do the end of this series. Now we're playing up to a C. This is the third group, the C group, which now you're going to a high C. And see how well I do. And if I need to slow down, I'm going to. So there are so many subtle things that are really, really important that you can be working on. And your mind is free because you don't have complicated patterns, but you're challenged because this pattern, even though it's simple, is physically challenging to do. So really pay attention to the qualities of the movement, to the sounds that are coming out of your horn, and one thing at a time. If you're focusing on the sound, just listen to the sound. You're getting feedback from that. If you hear some strain, this is what might happen to many players. Now I'm kind of tight and choked and bottled up. The whole idea of this exercise is to be able to blow free without backing up the air, without squeezing, choking, pressing, and pushing, but to stay open as if you were singing. And when you're in the right position, you can go anywhere on the horn with ease, without feeling like you have to kind of unravel yourself or, let go somehow and then drop to another note. You're actually flying or gliding the whole time. Let me attempt to play one from D. Now they're getting a little bit higher. I think I'll start on the first one now. So we're still playing up to high C. I don't think I played that correctly. The pattern's a little different. Let me look at that. can hear I'm much less accurate. I'm kind of fighting, I'm pushing and pulling a little bit. So I want to relax for a second and see if I can carry that nice feeling of smooth flow and comfort into the upper register. One way to practice this, which I use quite a bit, is I'll just sustain on a note and try and get back to my sense of balance before I continue. And what usually happens then is I'm actually letting go of tension and letting the air carry the sound. So I'm having a little trouble on this one. It might be for any number of reasons, but I'm going to work on it for a while. Let's see here. Yeah, there's a final group too, and that extends even further. So why don't I jump to that? I may not be smart, but I can think of myself as courageous. Okay, let's try one of these. So this goes up to, ooh, now we're getting up with a lot of ledger lines. Maybe up to an F sharp. Let's see how it goes. Now first I have to learn the pattern, so I'm going to play it fairly slowly. So now I noticed as I'm coming down, I started to lose control a little bit. And this is something that will happen to many players because we're going for the high notes. And let's say you have the capacity to play those notes, or any notes that seem high to you, you have the capacity to play them. But then when you come back down, the accuracy decreases. And what's happening is you have tightened up, and now you have to kind of let that go. And if you don't tighten up in the first place, then it's much easier coming down. Now, I can't get into specifics. There are dozens, maybe hundreds of mechanical things that are going on that you can become aware of that affect your ability to stay in balance. And they're all interconnected. So if you just look at one thing, like mouthpiece pressure, for example, or your throat being tight, or your breathing system coordination, that's a whole topic with a lot of details all by itself, or any aspect, what the tongue is doing. One you might want to consider out of all of those I just mentioned is, are you playing with your mouth open? In other words, when you play in the low register, am I going, or is my mouth, my jaw relaxed, so I can flow more easily? If I can carry that openness and that sense of easy flow into the upper register, I'll probably notice that my blower has to work significantly more, and that's good, because you can strengthen that, whereas the little muscles of your embouchure can only be so strong. And you don't want them only strong, you want them supple. You want the tissue free to vibrate. So the more you squeeze and the more you push and press, the tighter everything gets. It's hard to release that when you're coming back down. That's kind of the genius of this exercise. Let me try that one once again. I'm kind of learning these now, but you get the idea. That was better, and I used a whole breath to do that. And of course, breathing is another aspect that you can practice. A lot of times on an exercise like this, I'll just take a nice, full, relaxed breath and play until I'm running out of air. And for me, then that's a time to practice circular breathing. Or I could just stop and sustain the note for as long as I can, and then practice staying relaxed and open so I can take a full breath instantaneously without tension and be ready immediately to play the note again. So there are all kinds of ways that you can create situations for yourself using a simple exercise like this to really test yourself. I always go through the basics, and I'll just leave you with this, because no matter what exercise you play, if you add these elements of variation to it, you're going to be covering most of what you need to do in order to play music. You're going to be adding articulation. You want to be able to do it at any dynamic level. You want to be able to do it at various speeds. Okay, you know, if you've been watching my videos, you know me well enough now to know I just thought of something else. And this is another way to practice it, which is a variation that goes to agility. So I'm just going to go, let's see, where's a good one? Back it up a little bit so I'm not hurting myself. So this is in group C. I'm starting on F. So it's first valve, second and third valve. I'm going to change the rhythm. You get the idea? And you could do it the other way around. I played what is an approximation of a dotted 8/16, da 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 da, and I'm trying to be precise with the rhythm as I slur. So that's a little bit more advanced version where you're accenting notes, and if you think of it in jazz terms, you could be accentuating one note and then ghosting the next note. I didn't ghost those notes, but these are all things you can play with. First, however, see if you can play it smooth and comfortable from top to bottom. And this is the kind of thing that I'm considering making this part of my daily routine. Because it's so helpful, and it helps me to get loose, and that's one of the main things that I'm looking for from day to day is, can I get back to where my chops feel okay, so it's safe to kind of release the air freely without trying to control it, and the sound is comfortable and relaxed. Okay, that's plenty of stuff to chew on today. I hope you're able to get a hold of these books and put them into practice. But even if you can't afford to buy the books, you can still do what I told you and mess around with it, and you can make up your own patterns for that matter. It all accomplishes the same thing. Okay, time to go practice, and I will see you later on when you have a few moments. Have a great day. Bye-bye.